Hi YouTube! Today we are going to be going over Chapter 3 of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft. And again, this is by Denise Zimmerman and Kathleen A. Gleason. Today's chapter is titled Practicing Wicca and Witchcraft Today. Before we get started, I want to make a few points to you. Point 1. You probably already know a few witches. They're still in the broom closet to escape persecution, depending on where you live. Point 2. Witchcraft is a completely do-it-your-own-way religion. You will never be asked to do something that they know you're uncomfortable with. You should never do anything that you're uncomfortable with. This is a religion that is supposed to fit you, and you're supposed to manipulate it to your own needs. Note that if you do join a coven, they might ask you to do things that you're not comfortable with, and if you're not, just let them know. But then again, don't come into someone's coven stead and tell them how to run their place. This is their coven, and you are to respect their coven stead. So if you don't like a way that a coven does something, you don't have to be in that coven. Just like if you don't like the way I run things at my house, you don't have to be in my house. Let's see. There are many traditions of the craft. There are even too many in this book for me to talk about and make a decent sized video. So I think what I'm going to do is just skim down the pages and talk a little bit about the more influential ones, or the ones that are most often heard about. Before we start this, note that the word skyclad means naked or clothed by the sky. This is your most natural state. I don't care what anyone says. Being completely naked outside in the woods is as natural as you're going to get. No, I mean, I wouldn't be skyclad with my own coven. I'm not to that point of comfort with them yet. But if you're working in your own home and you're comfortable with doing that, that's all you. No one should tell you whether to, work skyclad or not. It's all what's comfortable for you. I'm going to start out with Gardnerian Witchcraft, founded in the 1950s in England by Gerald Gardner. Most influential witch you will ever hear. He was basically the first one to come out and say, hey, while witchcraft was legal, I was doing it. Oh, and double hey, it's not evil. We don't believe in Satan. We're actually basically a lot of shamans and druids. They practice a degree system, which we will get into later in the chapter. They work skyclad. They try to have an equal number of men and women. And important note about Gardnerian Witchcraft is that they are not allowed to initiate themselves. It has to be all coven work. They are not considered a real witch if they can initiate themselves. In my eyes, though, I think that it's no one's business your connection with the goddess and God. I'm very connected to my goddess and God. I don't let anyone tell me differently, whether they like the way I practice or not. I am self-initiated, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud that I took the incentive to study as hard as I can, and I waited longer than a year and a day. And then I made a personal connection with my God and goddess. Next is Alexandrian Wicca. Alexander's found this one. It is named after the Alexandrian library in Egypt. Can't talk today. Sorry, YouTube. Very similar to Gardnerian practices. Very similar. But this one just has a bit more emphasis on ceremonial magic. There is Sayax Wicca, founded by the magnificent Raymond Buckland. I've never read something by him that I do not completely approve of. He is amazing. He was actually the protege of Gerald Gardner. Wonderful, wonderful author. And he really broke the boundary to give you a little bit more freedom on how you decide to do the craft. He says if you want to initiate yourself, that's fine. If you want to work robed or skyclad, that's fine. And that impresses me a lot. There's fairy witchcraft. Yes, fairy as in a flying little fairy. It was founded by Victor Anderson. They place a lot of emphasis on magical creatures or mythological creatures. They usually work solitary or in small group. Reclaiming. Starhawk is probably one of the most influential people in reclaiming. She wrote The Spiral Dance. Very big book in witchcraft. Reclaiming very directly connects your spirituality with political activism. There are many people in reclaiming involved in politics, which really sets a good name for us because they have done a lot for witchcraft. There's Dianic, who, you guessed it, puts a lot of emphasis on the goddess. The god kind of falls in the backdrop. That's not how I would do it, but if that's how they want to do it, it's all their cup of tea. British traditional, very influenced by Janet and Stuart Farrer. Very brilliant witches. They wrote the Witch's Bible. Wonderful book. It's more for coven work, but it's still a very good read if you ever want to get a good solid structure for your ritual writing. I always refer to my Witch's Bible. Celtic Wicca. I consider myself eclectic, but if I had to choose one, Celtic Wicca would probably be the closest to me because I do worship under the Celtic pantheon. It really looks to the ancient Celtic and Druid deities. And it also has a lot of emphasis on the magic healing power of plants, stones, certain herbs, also the magic healing power of mythological creatures. And there are so many more denominations. There's so many. So I suggest that before you even pick one, I suggest you learn a lot about everyone that you can put your hands on. Some of them are kind of hard to learn about, like fairy witchcraft. I did a report on that one. I did a report on almost all of these, but that one kind of was the hardest to find information about, just because all of the websites that I found were kind of disorganized and just kind of went sporadically, and it was very confusing for me because I absolutely knew nothing about fairy witchcraft. Alright, definitions that I'm about to give you. Solitary. A solitary witch is someone who practices on their own without a coven. They usually write their own rituals, do their own things, whenever, wherever they want. Hereditary witch. They inherit the craft from older relatives, such as grandparents or parents. Note that being born a hereditary witch does not make you a witch. Just like being born into a Christian family does not automatically make you a Christian. To be a witch, you do have to do your studying and put in your legwork. Mommy and Daddy aren't just going to hand you your title. We're about to talk about the solitary and the coven life. There are pros and cons to both. Like with solitary, you get to make your own rituals. You do it when you're comfortable, where you're comfortable, and how you're comfortable. Yet, if you ever need the advice of a coven, or if you ever need the support of a coven, it's not really available to you. As opposed to the pros and cons of coven life, where yes, you do have that tight-knit family atmosphere in your coven, and you usually do have teachers readily available for you. But then again, it's like, you might not always be able to make it to every circle or ritual, and then there might be things that you disagree with. Your dedication to the craft. And note that I'm going page by page here, just like I did in my last video. This is probably how I'm going to do it as far as these videos go. Dedication to the craft. Dedication. You will have to be dedicated to even be initiated. You will have a year and a day to study. usually. You can do more, but I wouldn't recommend doing less. And this is very symbolic of the story of Caradwyn and Taliesin. And this is in the Celtic pantheon. It's a very old legend, and that's kind of what makes the year and the day. But we're not going to get into all of that. It really is a lot of work. You're not just going to float around for a year and a day and then receive a title. You're going to read and memorize and learn things, and it is a lot of work. Now, note that it's worth it. It is so worth it. Being initiated was the happiest moment of my entire life. I will never forget that night. I will never forget that week. It was ecstatic. It was surreal. It was wonderful. The thing about tools and initiation. If you're listening and kind of reading up about witchcraft, don't get excited and go out and buy a lot of tools. Don't go and get a new athame or a chalice. Don't go and buy a fancy bell or some libation bowls. Don't do it. Because there's a chance that you might get home and continue your reading and find out that's just too much work for you. And then all your new tools are going to go in a box and gather dust. And that's just a pity for everyone. The only tool you'll really need before your initiation is an athame. Use this. Use your finger. Use a stick. Anything that you can push energy through. I suggest your finger. It is directly attached to your body. It is the easiest thing to push energy through. Your hands are the easiest things to push energy through. So there's no need to go out and buy all of that just yet. I would definitely wait until you're initiated, because it's just ridiculous to get all of that stuff. It's like buying a pie filling before you get the pie crust. Earning your degree. You will be earning your titles. You will not be handed a title on a silver platter. You will not be given one for a birthday gift. You will earn your title. You will work hard in your year and a day study. It is a year and a day to be first degree initiation. Initiation is really being reborn. If you follow the degree system, you will be reborn 3 times. Initiation basically has 3 steps to it. You have 1, separation. Separation can sometimes be literal, where you'll be separated from everyone for 24 hours in order to do your studying and your meditating. 2 is cleansing, inside and out. That can involve fasting, being sexually abstinent for the first 24 hours before your initiation. That can involve ritual bath, a number of things. Then there is the actual initiation itself, which is your rebirth, and this is very ceremonial. It is heavy in symbolism. Let me tell you though, being initiated will change your entire life for the better. After I was initiated, my whole life changed for the better. Every day is a happier day. Every day the colors in my life are brighter and the days are better, and it's very magical. Not to be cheesy, it is the best thing I've ever done. After another year and a day, if you feel you're ready, you will be elevated to 2nd degree. People usually at this point earn the title of priest or priestess. I don't do that personally with myself, because I think that you should only be called priest or priestess when you're 3rd degree, and then you'll be considered a high priest or priestess. I think that when you're 2nd degree, you're just 2nd degree. That's my opinion though. Don't let my opinion influence your studies. After another year and a day, you are, high priest or priestess, or you will earn the title lady or lord. Here's a definition word for you. Covenstead. This is literally just where your coven practices. Our coven stead is in someone's backyard. I recommend using nature as your coven stead. What is more natural than being outside? People can use coven stead as a private room or even a living room with the furniture moved out the way. It doesn't matter where you worship. Metaphysical stores. Beware of your metaphysical stores. If you are lucky enough to have a selection of them, get to know the owners, because their energies will highly influence the products. If you don't even have a metaphysical store around you, the internet has so much. Or you can even go to isisbooks.com or azuregreen.com and order a mail order catalog, because I know that not everyone has a debit card. So then you can just write a mail order and send it to them, and they have a wide selection, a great choice. I also recommend 13moons.com and dragonmoons.ca. Wonderful, wonderful websites. Also, don't forget about eBay. eBay has a lot of great things. Just make sure that they've never been used, because you don't want someone else's energies tangling up in there. Workshops and courses. Just because someone's teaching you the craft doesn't mean you have to close your eyes and ears for it. Keep open your mind. If something they're saying doesn't make sense to you or feels wrong to you, don't follow it. Just as in my videos, if you feel uncomfortable with something I said, or if you disagree with something I said, then don't follow me. Don't feel that I'm the right one or that someone in a local coven is the right one, because it's all about your heart and what feels right to you. You can also go to different places for workshops and courses. Magica School Online is great. They also have mysticwix.com. For good sources for that, I recommend to go to witchvox.com, witchvox.com. It is a spectacular witchcraft networking site. Anywhere from podcasts to members, shops, stores. It's amazing. And note that when a student is ready, a teacher usually appears. When the god or goddess thinks that you're ready to learn the craft, and that you're dedicated in doing so, you'd be surprised how fast the teacher comes out of nowhere. Out of this chapter, the least you need to know is there are probably hundreds, maybe thousands of different types of witches. That number's pretty accurate. There are so many different traditions because it's pretty easy to make your own traditions. I don't recommend going out and doing it until you have a substantial amount of knowledge about each different type of tradition. You do not have to join a coven to be a witch. Many witches practice on their own as solitaries and have fulfilling magical and spiritual experiences. Very true. Just like for those Christians who don't go to church, they watch, the church services on their television, or they pray on their own. That doesn't make them any less of a Christian. If any witch asks you to do something that is immoral, illegal, or makes you uncomfortable, don't do it. Sexual favors should never enter into your training as a witch. If anybody asks you for anything, especially money or sexual favors, you don't need to be learning from them. The only time you should ever give your teacher money is if they literally have to buy material for your lessons. If they're asking for money because they want to get paid from you, do not learn under them. It says in the Wiccan Rede, "When ye have need, hearken not to others' greed." That means even if you're in the poorhouse, knowledge should be free. Do not charge people for classes. And that is why I'm having this YouTube series. Leave it up to the goddess, and you will find your teacher when you're ready. That is the truth be told. Alright, everyone. I'm so glad that you tuned in again. I hope you enjoyed your lesson. Your next lesson will be actually part 2, and it will be Chapter 4, Wiccan Deities, Homage to the Lord and Lady, and this is where we're really getting into stuff. So, I hope you guys have a great day or night. I hope you enjoyed the video, and blessed be everyone.